Hello, good day, everyone from every part of the world that we are listening and watching this section. I want to welcome you to another episode of our weekly study series. These series are of two types. We have one that is on Saturdays between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. on weekends. That is focused on technical know-how. We have another series that is on Sundays, and that is from the hour of 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. West Africa time zone or Nigeria time zone. So on these two series, we focus on how we can build capacities of newbies within technology or professionals within the technical space so that we can enhance our technical know-how. For the soft skills, gone were those days that people were looking at only technical deliveries. Organizations nowadays are looking at both technical deliveries and your soft skills on how to manage your technical know-how. That's why we are doing two types of those series. Today, we have another episode of our technical series that will be focusing on a subject that is around the world at the moment, and that is about generative AI. Generative AI. Within the context of today's presentation, we'll be looking at exploration of Microsoft Azure AI and generative AI. We have our guest whose name is Mr. Precious Ajuru. Mr. Precious Ajuru is an Azure cloud engineer with expertise in designing, deploying, and managing Azure cloud environment and AI-powered solutions. He is a certified prompt engineer specializing in optimizing generative AI models and AI-driven automation with deep experience across various Azure services, including Azure AI services, automation, networking, and security. Mr. Precious focuses on helping developers and businesses scale AI solutions using Microsoft cloud technologies. As a Microsoft certified Azure expert, he is passionate about bringing AI and cloud technologies to drive innovation and efficiency. Mr. Precious is actively involved in cloud community through through leadership, through thought leadership, LinkedIn discussions, and hands-on experimentation. As an aspiring Microsoft MVP, he is committed to empowering developers with practical AI and cloud solutions that enhance automation and real-world impact. I have the honor and privilege to invite Mr. Precious to take over this session as our audience are all over the world listening to what you have to say to us. Thank you so much. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Popular. I appreciate the privilege to be the one to take this session. I
Yeah,
think this is a rescheduled session, so I won't take it for granted for the grace extended to me.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
our pleasure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me bring up your slide.
Okay.
Then I will be at the background.
Perfect. Thank you. Really
Okay,
appreciate
you
it.
can just
So
maximize
my slide is yeah.
your
I'll
yeah, it's
take it
visible. Just
to
yeah.
perfect. Cool. Good. Right.
You can use the other one because as at now we are seeing the entire. This is a
Oh, I see.
presenter mode, right? Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I can make do with this. This is fine. All
mm.
right. Once again, welcome to this session.
Just a moment.
Okay.
As at now we are seeing your entire screen, which is in
Yeah.
the presenter mode. Can you change it
Yeah.
over to the other one so that your um just
Is it
enlarge
better? Oh
downward
yeah. Okay.
downward.
You just want this to be. Yeah,
No,
but
no,
I
no,
fear.
not that one. No. That small. The other
Which
one,
one?
the one by the right. Yes.
Yeah. This was what I did before. This should take it to presentation mode.
Okay, you can right click on the presentation mode and it will take you back. Right click.
Correct. 2 seconds.
No, no,
Let me
no.
hide this. Yeah. If
You
I
can,
escape this, takes me back. Right.
no. Go there again.
Yeah.
No, not this one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, click it again.
or just normal clicking it.
Normal, just normal.
Yeah.
Then on the presentation, right click on the presentation,
Okay, I
right?
have.
Then hide presenter view. Hide. Just come down.
Yeah, I just did.
Uh
Okay, I get what you're saying now. So I'm fine
okay,
now.
okay.
I'm
Okay.
good. So
Are
my
you
screen
comfortable
is
with
small.
this?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You have the floor. Thank you.
All right. Sorry guys for that for that little back and forth. Um so welcome once again, welcome to this session on Microsoft, on exploring Microsoft Azure AI and generative AI. We already have like 11 minutes spent, so we need to get right into it just so we have more time to cover things. Exploring Microsoft Azure AI and generative AI. First of all, I mean, this sounds a bit trite, sounds a bit commonplace, but what is artificial intelligence? We know what's so on top of our heads, we know what we think it is, right? It's been around for some time now, and we understand the power of it, the impact of it. Most of us already use it. But if we want to put it in words, how do we explain it in words? What is artificial intelligence? Because we're talking about exploring Microsoft Azure artificial intelligence, and then we'll talk about generative artificial intelligence, which is a part of artificial intelligence. So it's just good to lay the foundation. What is artificial intelligence? In simple terms, is when computers or machines are designed to think and act like humans, right? And that's what they said is artificial intelligence. It's not natural intelligence like a human being, but they are designed to mimic human beings in thinking and acting, right? For example, if you need directions to go to a particular state or city, you probably need to ask someone. The person gives you direction, or even you are in a vicinity and you need to find your way around. You need someone to point to. Oh, when you get to the right, or when you get down the road, take a right turn, take a left turn, and all that. These are things that human beings do normally. But with artificial intelligence now, we don't need all of that. You have your Google Map, right? And sometimes when you're shopping, could be Amazon, or even when you're watching Netflix, you get certain recommendations based on what you watched previously or based on what you bought, right? All of those things, artificial intelligence. The system is learning your shopping mood, your the things you watch, and suggest what it thinks that will suit you, right? Listen, all of these are artificial intelligence. AI allows machines to perform tasks that require human intelligence. So the idea is it's just to empower systems, to empower machines, right? To act like humans, to perform those tasks that normally humans would do. It's not a replacement of humans, by the way, but just to enhance humans' productivity, right? There has been a debate around is AI going to take over the jobs that we humans do, but then again, that's entirely a different conversation, right? So artificial intelligence is when computers or systems are designed to think and act like humans. And then examples like I mentioned earlier, like your Google Maps, like your Netflix, like Siri. When you're talking to your Siri or Alexa, it responds to you in human form, right? It understands what you're saying. It's just a system, but it understands your spoken language. All of those systems have been trained. All of those systems have been designed to act like that. That's what artificial intelligence is. Now down to what is Microsoft Azure AI. We've talked about what artificial intelligence is. Now, what is Microsoft Azure AI? In simple terms, Microsoft Azure AI is just Microsoft's tools and services that enables those systems to act and behave like humans. I'll take that again. Microsoft's tools. So Microsoft have designed tools and services that will help those systems, those computers to behave and act like humans. I'll tell you something. Let's say you're designing an app, right? And you need to inculcate the AI part of it into the app. The truth is that you put more work and energy into even designing the AI than the simple app, right? So what Microsoft has done is that to make these features, these functionalities that will enable computers to think and act like humans, making them readily available for developers and for businesses. So you can just more like pick them off the shelf, right? It's more like plug and play, right? Everything is available for you. All you need to do is just plug it back end to your app, and then you have it on the go. Be it your chatbot, be it your language translation. Say you are somewhere in Nigeria and you have students you're teaching in a different place with different language. Could be Mandarin, could be French, right? The language barrier, all of those language barriers and all of those things have been cut off with the services and tools that Microsoft has provided. So the good thing about this, you don't need any deep machine learning expertise. Just give me a moment. Let me turn off my heater. You don't need deep machine learning expertise. I mentioned something earlier that if you are designing your app, your web app or your mobile app, and you need an AI, an interactive AI, for example, to talk to people that come to your visit your site when you're not safe on a Sunday morning, when you're to church, or Friday when you've gone to mosque, or wherever you're busy, or midnight and all that, you will not always be available, right, to attend to your customers. So let's say you're building a chatbot, right, that would always engage your customers in an interactive and way that has context, right? That will require a lot of machine learning, right? Because machine learning is basically you need to teach the system how to act like human. That's what machine learning is, right? We're saying AI is about making systems act like human. So machine learning is a process. Every AI goes through the machine learning process. The machine learns how to be like human. If you do all of that for every system, every app you're designing, believe me, you can spend most of your energy just training the AI systems, even and not even your app, right? So this is what Microsoft has done for us. You don't need the deep machine learning expertise to achieve your goals with Azure AI. What are the key things? What are the key services that Microsoft is providing with Azure AI? AI language, test analytics, and summarization. For example, let's say you're running an online shop, you're an online vendor, you're running an e-commerce app, and you're particular about reviews from your customer because you want to make your products better, right? When you're sending those reviews, you might not have time depending on how big your company or your organization is, you might not have time to go through all of those reviews. Let's say you get 10,000 or 5,000 reviews every week. I don't think you have time to pay attention or go through all of those reviews, right? You might not even have the staff to do that. So with machine learning, with some of the things Azure is doing, the Azure AI language, all you need to do is you can analyze all of the reviews, right? In terms of it's called sentiment analysis. Is this positive? Is this negative? Is this neutral? And then if you're concerned about your products, to better your products, you look at negative ones and see how you can improve on them and all that. So that's bundled inside Azure AI language. Test summarization, you're given a 10,000 Word document or a 5,000 page document. You might not have time to go through all of that. With Azure AI language, you can summarize everything and get the key things for you, get the key persons even, right? Get the key persons for you, get the key places for you if you want, right? Another one is Azure AI Vision. That will have OCR and object detection. Let's say, for example, you find your way in a street, right? And then you take a picture of the street. Maybe you need to show somebody, but you take a picture of the street. OCR basically tells you, okay, this is let's say Popular Street. Sorry if I'm messing up your name. This is Popular Street in Lekki. That's what OCR does because that's what is written on the sign, Popular Street. So it's particular about the text. Object detection tells it this is a sign, right? It can be a billboard or whatever, but this is a sign. Object detection is not concerned about the text itself, but OCR is concerned about the text. So you understand why both of them are bundled into AI vision. They just cater to different aspects of AI vision, right? And yeah, we also have Azure AI speech to text, translation, speech to text, translation, and then text to speech. We're probably used to using online meeting platforms, be it Team, be it Google Meet, and all that. Sometimes when you're having those meetings, you want to have those conversations recorded, you want to have those conversations translated, you want to have those conversations translated to text, right? So that you can go through the recordings later. You can even have a file, right, that just in speech, in audio format, right? And you want to listen to them want to read them and write something based on them. And with Azure AI Speech, all of that is possible. I'll be showing us some of these things, in a while. All of that is possible with Azure AI Speech. So speech to text is basically converting spoken words. Everything I'm saying now, you're converting it into text, right? With speech to text functionality, your app can do that. With text to speech, it's called speech synthesis. You're converting what is written to spoken words, right? And then Azure Document Intelligence, you extract structured data. So Azure Document Intelligence, let's say for example, most companies use this thing where if you make an expense, you submit an expense report, right? You submit an invoice, right? Depending on the volume of that, you might not have time to go through all of those details. Okay, so amount was expended on this, so amount was expended on this. What Azure has done is they have lots of formats for those major documents, be it your international passport, be it your driver's license, be it your receipts, be it your invoices, expense report, whatever. But the majority of them, the common ones, right? They have them as a template. All you need to do once you plug the AI document intelligence tool into your app has all of those functionalities. And even if you're seeking to explore more functionalities beyond the templates Azure has provided, they also provided there is also a possibility for you to do what is called custom template that fits. Let's say you're in the legal sector, legal services sector, and you guys have a particular kind of form that you feel that you need to be automated. With Azure Document Intelligence, you can just what you need to do is just train the tool on that kind of form, right? So that it learns it, right? You can even train multiple forms. So instead of wasting resources training just one form, you can train multiple forms. So I have multiple templates to use anytime. You can bundle them and train them with Azure Document Intelligence. And then the big one, Azure OpenAI Service, where you have so everything I've talked about right now, you see in the next slide, everything I've talked about right now before Azure OpenAI Service are all what we call traditional AI. So we have traditional AI and generative AI. Everything I've talked about before now is all what we call traditional AI. Why are they called traditional AI? I'll explain more in the next slide. Okay. Now, traditional AI versus generative AI in Azure. So most of the Azure services are traditional AI, language, vision, speech, document, all of those things I've mentioned. Now, why are they traditional AI? Because they only analyze, they classify, they extract, and help us understand data. They interpret data, right? Even the translation service. So you're speaking English, right? And then you want it to be translated in Yoruba or any other language. For example, bag, right, has a fixed meaning in Yoruba. So there is no new thing that is being created there. Goats has a fixed meaning in Yoruba. So it's basically just converting it. Nothing is created, nothing is being generated. There is no new thing, right? So it's just that's what I call traditional AI, right? And that's the closest to going out of traditional AI as an example. I mean, translation service. Every other thing is very well suited into traditional AI. Now, what is generative AI? Again, we'll go into that in details in our next slide. But before I go into generative AI, I think it would be fair that I show us some of these services in Azure. Okay. And I mentioned earlier from the previous slide that everything I've mentioned from here up onto this place are traditional AI, but this is Azure's generative AI. Now, the way to relate to this, when I go details into generative AI, the equivalence of this could be your ChatGPT, could be your Cloud, could be your Gemini, and lots of those AI models. Yeah. Now, before I go into generative AI proper, which is about the next slide, let me just show us a bit of these tools in Azure so we can appreciate them, right? I was actually doing something here. So I'm going to go here, right? So when you want to create an Azure AI service or an Azure AI tool, let's just call them Azure AI services. You have two options, right? You create a service directly that is available. If you notice here, I've created some services. I've created the translator services. I've created translator service. I've created the document intelligence service. I think I've created the language service, right? There are possibilities to create these things individually. And if I created me individually, they also have what we call studios. each of the services have their own studio, right? Their own studio is more like where you can use them, where you can fine tune them, where you can plug your app, where you can do everything you need to do with them, right? You can design them, right? So if I want to do anything now, all I need to do is go to this develop, right? And it takes me to the studio, right? So yeah, language studio. I already had it open in my next tab, but I just wanted to show you how you go there, right? And if I come here, I think I need to click on yeah, because I already filled in some details, it just took me directly. But even if it takes you directly and you have multiple language resources, this is a resource. Remember I said each of these services are a resource by themselves. So you have two options: to create them individually as a resource, or to bundle the entire AI services together and create, right? Most people, even myself, I prefer that option. So if I'm in the studio right now, what can I do? First of all, let's say I have multiple language studio for different projects. I can come here, right, and go to resource. For this one, I have two language projects. One is in UK South, right? Because that's closest to me. And I have a language resource as well that is global. And that's for a reason. I had to make it global. And then this is use manage identity, which is a different topic altogether. So the point of this is to show you that you can do this individually. And when you create the resources individually, they have their own specifics to do. Now, what is the second option? Second, and every resource at all, let's say computer vision, which talks about the whole OCR thing I was talking about. Yeah, computer vision, content safety, all of that, all of the resources are here. All of these are all resources. They've not been created. If I click on any of them, then I can create them. Let's say content safety. If I click on content safety, it will tell me to create it. If I click on computer vision, it will tell me to create it. If I click on bots services, it will tell me to create it. These are all the resources, and each of them have their own studio. This is only one way of managing your Azure AI tools or Azure AI services. What's the second option? You can boldly see it here, Azure AI Foundry. This by itself, you can create this as a resource, Azure AI Foundry. Now, before we even create that, before I show us how to create that and how it works, what is a foundry? And I think that's where Azure got the concept. A foundry is usually where you melt ions, shaping them to what you want, right? How you want to use it, right? It can be for whatever purpose you want it to be, right? And this is the same, it's the same concept. In Azure AI Foundry, you have all of the AI tools and you can design them however you want, right? And get all the details you want to plug them into your app. You can even plug your app, right? Even from Azure AI Foundry, right? So I'll create the Azure AI Foundry. Azure AI Foundry. Just come to the search bar, click Azure AI Foundry. Right. When I click it, this is going to create all of the resources for me. Create an Azure AI Foundry resource. It's one resource, but it bundles all of the Azure AI services. I'm just going to quickly create it. I know it takes some time, but I'm just going to quickly create it. I'll call it demo because I don't have any demo. I don't have any other Azure AI service results. So I'll just create them because I believe that will go. Project name, first project is fine. This is a new one. Normally, you create the project once you get into the AI Foundry. This is just what Azure has introduced. So you have to you have to put the project name here first. It becomes your default project. You understand what a project is once you get into the studio, the Foundry itself, Foundry portal. Yeah, these are just normal things. You can leave it as default. System assigned, just leave it as default. Tags if you want. Yeah, one thing before we go, once I click create, once it creates, I will show something what has failed. Validation failed. Does it show me what failed? Um, okay. Maybe it wants me to review this. No, it's taken outside of it. So no, it doesn't say what has doesn't show me what has failed, but let's see if I can make this to okay. No, the one that everything looks okay, right? So let me try this again to see if the validation fails. Or is it? Or is the error? Let's pick a different name. This one domain is taking. Right, so it tells me the name is a problem. So I'm going to come here. I just add a bunch of numbers, right? because I just want it to be unique. I don't want to get that error again. Hopefully it passes this time. I'll be surprised if someone has taken that kind of number, that kind of name. So this is going to deploy it. Why is deploying, right? I'll probably go back to, so because of time, I'll be just doing a bit of the back and forth. Why is deploying? I don't know how long it takes. Probably 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll go back to the presentation and take all the aspects of the presentation, and that will be generative AI. Now, there's why I wanted to show us Azure AI Foundry is just to show you the elements of the traditional AI that are in Azure and how they work, right? Just to show you some visuals of them. Okay. I'll go to generative AI now as my next presentation. I'll remember to come back here. All right. 2 seconds. Where is it? Yeah, traditional AI. Can you still see my slide, please? Can you confirm below? Can anyone hear me? Hello? Can anyone hear me? Oh, I'm not hearing myself. Hello? Yeah. Um, okay. Do this. Good. All right. So I'll continue here. I'll just right click this and hide presentation. Perfect. Okay. Good. So back to traditional resource generative AI. I think I've talked about this. So the next will be generative AI. What is generative AI? I think I mentioned it slightly. That in traditional AI, most Azure AI services are traditional AI, the language division, because nothing new is created. They're basically to analyze, classify, extract, and interpret data, right? So, what is generative AI? Generative AI is just the type of AI that creates new things like words, pictures, music, or videos, just like a human mind. So, for example, if you're an author, right, or you're an artist, even though you've learned, right, you've learned how to draw and all that, you work with data to learn all those things, maybe through university or through however you learned, or you're an author, you're used to words, you're a voracious reader, so you're used to semantics and all that. When you write, you're writing something new, even though they might be subsets of ideas, but you're morphing them together to become your own idea, right? Or when you draw, you're drawing something new. That is generative AI, right? Unlike traditional AI. So it's the part of AI that creates something new. It can be new words, it can be new pictures, music, or videos, right? It creates content using language models. Now, language models are trained on vast internet scale data sets. In language models, there are two things, right? There are two types of language models. So, have the large language models and the small language models. Let's say Popular wants to set up this company. I imagine this company will be a small company. It won't be as a scale of Google, for example. And he wants to create an AI, generative AI, that will cater to his side, to the size of his company, maybe his customers and all that. All you need to do is to create a small language model. And what's the difference? The data sets you use in training. And when you train, remember, during machine learning model, during the machine learning process. But with Azure AI, right, you can just train with your own data sets, right? Azure provides that gives you the opportunity to train with your own data set and fine tune your AI model, right, to only your company, so that you want to interact with customers using your generative AI model. You have it's speaking to your data directly. It's not speaking to some general data in the internet that ChatGPT refers to, for example, right? Those are small language models. Now, large language models are usually in the scale of the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, the Clouds, the Grok by X, right? Those are the large language models. And the difference again, remember, is the volume of data, right, that is used to train these models. I mean, it's the same thing as a human, right? The more knowledgeable you are, the more vast you'll be, right? Even in your responses, right? Because say you're a voracious reader, you have more knowledge and you have more view about things, right? So it's the same way with large language models and small language models. Okay. Um, Generative AI, this takes us to the next thing, right? I mentioned that generative AI is a type of AI that creates new content, right? And this is key. Generative AI is only as good as the prompt you give it, So specific instructions will lead to better results because the AI predicts based on your input. Let me explain that in a minute or two. How does this generative AI is arguably the most advanced part of technology right now. Arguably, most people consider it as the most advanced part of technology because you just randomly say, create me a picture of so thing, it does it. Make me a short video, Sora, ChatGPT does that. Or you say, create me a contest, a content, right? A blog content, and it does it perfectly well. So people consider it as very advanced. But how does it do it? Let's walk back a bit. When you were going through school as a child, right, you were taught alphabet, right, and then you were taught words, right, and then you started joining words together to make sentences, right. Those were the foundations. Right now you can flow just like me. Now I'm combining words to try to make sense to you. Hopefully I'm doing that well, right. I'm combining words to try to make sense to you. If, for example, now I say contextually, because I believe most of us here is a global event, but I believe most of us here are Nigerian. If, for example, now I just say something like this, I put a price to this, I say if you get it correctly, you win the prize. And I say Abo lives in the town of, and I stop there, most of you will get it. Or I say, what's the story about Edet? Edet is I've forgotten that story. Or I say Obi is a, for example, right? Most of us together, or I say something like, um, you go explain, tire because no, most of us will get the answers. Why? You can predict what should be the answer. You can predict where I'm going to. Why? Because we've all been trained with the same data. That is the same thing with generative AI, right? It's been trained with data, so it predicts. There is no special miracle. Yeah, it's a miracle in its own, but there is not supernatural, right? It kind of predicts where you're going to based on its training data. So, for example, now most of you, if you can just go to your favorite AI tool and you type something like this, the sky is, leave, maybe put dot 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 or leave it at that, or put dot 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 and put a question. The sky is, and allow you to complete it. 95 or say 80% of the time, right, you're most likely going to get this answer, blue, followed by cloudy, maybe beautiful, right? But your answers must be among these three, right? The best answer would be blue, right? That's what most of the answers would be. I know that authoritatively because that's how they are trained. They are trained to predict, and most of the training data they've been used to will tell you the sky is blue because that is a fact. Now, I'll speak to us later about temperature and top P value, right? Because you can also tweak those answers. Now, the essence of the reason I'm telling this is because if you understand that this is how it works, you now know the benefits of prompting it correctly, right? It's a predictive model, so you need to prompt it correctly to give it direction. I hope that makes sense. Okay. What is a prompt? A prompt is what you tell an AI to get to. What tell an AI to get you to do some what's the prompt is when you tell an AI to do something for you. Simple. Simply put, when you tell an AI to do something for you, it can be in form of a question, it can be in form of an instruction. Help me do this. Help me summarize so thing, right? In so words, in so letters, in number of words, right? Or what is the capital of France? What is the capital of Nigeria? Those are prompts, right? Now, for a prompt to be effective, it should have, I should say, it should have a clear intention. What do you want the AI to do? Right? It should be that should be intention. Most prompts, to be fair, right? Most prompts have that clear intention. We say what's capital of France, um, summarize this for me. The intention is there, right? But it's lacking in some other things. For the most times, they are usually lacking in context, right? For your prompt to be effective, context is very key. You have to give it background detail to avoid vague answers. If I say, um, um, tell me about globalization. If I ask you, even as a human being, tell me about globalization, it begs the question: what exactly do you want to tell me? Do you want me to tell you about globalization? Where do I start? Where do I stop? Do you, because of globalization, like the benefits of globalization, the features of globalization, or what exactly? Or tell me about climate change. What do you want to know about climate change? If I do that to you and I'm marking you, I'm assessing you based on that, that would be very unfair. So imagine doing that to the AI, which is what most of us, to be honest, does to the AI, right? I mean, most of us do to the AI. You just tell it to do something, explain it to spin up its spiritual, I mean, its supernatural powers and give us answers that we want, right? And for the most part, the reason for that is that we tend to be a bit impatient with the AI, or we tend to be in a hurry. We need this answer fast. But the truth is, if you need something that is good enough, right, you have to take your time. And a problem with that, let me just give you a clue. A problem with that, if you're not following this format, let me run through for all of them, and then I'll come back to the problem with that. Um, you have to give it a tone or style. For example, if I say, tell me, I can't just say, tell me about cloud computing, or tell me about Logic App, or tell me about Azure AI Service, right? That is one way to talk about it. But I can also specify it. Tell me about, in so ways, tell me about Azure Language Service, the benefits, how I can plug it to my app and all that. That is another way to put it. I can also give it a bit of tone and style. I would say you are an Azure language expert, right? Or you're an Azure cloud engineer, and you're a 32-year-old Azure cloud engineer, or a 40-year-old Azure. That's what most of us don't know. These generative AIs are even sensitive to things like that. And that's what makes your prompts effective. Because in reality, how a 32-year-old speaks is different from how a 40-year-old speaks, and how an 18-year-old speaks. As a practice, just one of these days, just try with your favorite prompt. You are an 18-year-old or you're a 17-year-old, talk about social thing, and then try to increase the age and see if you get the same response, right? So the tone and style matters, right? And then the format, don't just make it aim, just go aimlessly, just wander about. Like, give it a structure in bullet points, or I'm using it for social thing. Give it an audience, like it's an email, or it's in response to an email. This is an email reply. What I usually do sometimes, if I need help with a generative AI model to respond to certain emails that I'm lost in thoughts to respond to, I just get the email, right? I got also email from Mr. So person, right? This is this has been our previous conversation, right? What do you think is appropriate? What do you think is appropriate response for it? I can even give it a tone, make it polite, make it friendly, and make it concise, right? Make it polite, make it, sometimes you can even tell you make it polite and professional, right? It kind of balances it, right? And it gives you exactly what you want. But if you say, help me reply to this email, you get whatever. Sometimes it gives you, for a simple email that someone sends to you, you're giving the person a comprehension, right? Which is basically because of the kind of prompt you're using. And then set limits. I mean, put a word count, give it an audience type. I'm speaking to Azure Cloud engineers in Nigeria. I'm speaking to developers. I'm speaking to CCAOs and all that. Help me prepare a slide that will be appropriate and suitable for my audience. So, so all of these things are key when you're creating or when you're crafting a prompt. Okay. Okay, and then and just to give us a few examples, I think I've already mentioned it in explaining prompts. A few examples about bad versus good prompts, bad and good prompts. A bad prompt says, for example, tell me something, right? A better prompt will say, tell me a fun fact I can share at lunch with friends. Like, you're more specific, you're giving it context, right? Write a story about what can I just random. The funny thing is that it can randomly, some generative AI models can randomly just write stories, but do they suit what you need at the time? Are you just looking for a random story? Some of them, I know ChatGPT sometimes we just tell you, what kind of story do you want me to write? Like, you're making it beg you for answers, right? And then make this better. I think most of us are guilty of this. You just drop a body of text and you just say, make this better. How? What is better for you? What are you looking for? Is it in terms of tone? Is it, what are you looking for when you say better? What do you want it to be shorter? Do you want it to be concise? You just have to give all of those instructions. You can't just say random, you can't randomly say make it better, because better is based on is relative to perception even, right? Because so you have to give it you have to give it those guidelines. And then draw something cool. You have to draw something about words, right? So these are just basic. This might sound basic, right? This might sound uncommonplace, but the truth is that somehow we get to this in our subtle ways, right? Maybe not in this very low scale, not in these very low examples. This might be very obvious, but even terms of when we're prompting, even at workplace or something, we need to find a solution to something. We just give it something, we just begin to dish out random prompts, right? And it's making us something that will take us 5, 10 minutes to understand and get response or answers to and get solutions to. We wonder about for 2 hours or 3 hours, not knowing that the prompt was a problem. Sometimes it's better to spend 5, 10 minutes to craft your prompt very well with relevant pictures, right? And most of the prompts now support pictures. I know ChatGPT, if you're not, except you're using the free version, support pictures, graphics. Okay, the relevant you give it context, right? And then if you give you an answer, most likely it's going to give you something close to what you want. If it doesn't, you follow it up from there. That's just how to make your prompts good, right? Okay. Um, Building intelligent apps with Azure AI. But before I go into building intelligent apps with Azure AI, there's something I need to talk to us about. Give me a moment to check on all we are deploying is that worked. Okay, so I'll quickly before I go to all right. Sorry, I'm just a bit all over the place. Now before I come to show you what you're supposed to do here, let me quickly tell you something about generative AI, right? Um 2 seconds please. Let me quickly tell you something about generative AI. There's what they call context window in generative AI. There's what they call top P value, and there's what they call temperature. If you don't go with anything, just go with these two things as relates to generative AI. What is context window? Most of us don't know that regardless of the model you're using, it has a limit. It has a reasoning limit. I'll give you an example. The popular ChatGPT 4 or something, right? If I go to Google right now and I say, what's the limit for ChatGPT 4? Sorry, let me see if I can do that here. Yeah. What's the token limit? What's the token limit for chats? Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0, right? And that is ChatGPT 4.0 is trying to see uh sorry, I'm trying to see answer for that. Okay, 8,000 ChatGPT 4. What is token limit for ChatGPT 4? It's 8,192. Now, what does that mean? Most of us try to we miss this, right? The truth is that when you're crafting your prompts and you're interacting with a generative AI, we human beings we deal with words. Remember, starting from the beginning, AI is like trying to make the computer or machine to reason and act like a human. So, in every way possible, that is where we try to achieve that. Now, for we human beings, we deal with words. If they ask you to write thesis, they say write thesis in not more than 3,000 words, 2,000 words. For computers, it's a bit different, but it's the same in relative terms. It's the same thing, right? In computers, they deal with tokens, right, and not exactly words. So when you're writing your prompts or everything you're doing and you're using ChatGPT 4, for example, which is also available, there's an equivalence of that in Azure OpenAI, right? All you have is 8,192 tokens. And believe me, tokens are shorter than words. For example, the word like automatic has about 3 tokens, right? Some words have like 4, 5 tokens, right? So you can't say 8,192 tokens equals to 8,194, 92 words. No. How does that affect anything? If you give it lots of tests, for example, to summarize for you, and it summarizes this for you, and you keep asking based on those things and contents, and you're having a conversation, the truth is that 8,192 words includes both the prompts and the context. The context being the body of text you gave it, right? That's why it's called context window. Everything is considered as a context. The context window. Now, if everything has gone up to like 15,000, your charts and everything has gone up to 15,000, that model will only consider the last 8,192. What's the problem with that? Sometimes when you're prompting your popular generative AI tool, you see that some things are cut off, or it's as if he doesn't remember the very early conversations you had. That is the reason for that, right? Every model has a context window, right? So if you're using a generative AI model, try to find out. You can just simply Google what's the context window for this. You just put the generative AI model. It gives you the context window. It helps you to work with the context with the generative AI model very well. So I know, okay, I should not give it. It cannot give chat GPT 4, for example, a test of 12,000 words and tell it to summarize for you, right? It's gonna give you nonsense because I mean and you're not going to blame it because they stated it clearly, right? So you're looking for something of almost 20,000 tokens from something that has capability of just 8,000 tokens, right? It's not going to work, right? So you're going to run into errors or inaccuracies. So that's something to keep in mind. Context window. Another thing to keep in mind is what they call temperature, right? I think that one is better of showing you as an example. Let me see if I still have time to go into Azure AI Foundry. I'll quickly do that. I can. I hope I can set that up in 2 minutes. Okay. Populo, can you confirm you can hear me? I feel like I'm a bit by myself here. Can you confirm that you can hear me, please? Anytime, just feel free to confirm. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, I've been at the background. Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Oh, perfect,
Uh,
perfect. Oh, thank
so
God.
the
That's
audience also
that's a
confirmed they can hear you too.
oh, perfect. That's a relief. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'll go to this project. I'll go to this project, and then I can work with any resource here. I should be able to find, yeah, Azure AI. Usually, it's just plainly there. You can just see it from the AI services. But the latest updates are present. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see this. Our resources. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. That's Azure AI Foundry. Yeah. Sorry, just a moment. I think this interface has changed for recent. So there's usually a way to see all of the AI services at once. Yeah, this is a new thing as well. This was added about a week or 2 weeks ago. Grok 3 from X. I think in the Microsoft build meeting this week, they announced it. Right. Okay. Let me just, I think better of creating a new, yeah, better of creating a new project. I think I work better with this one. Yeah. Yeah, I'll call this Hub AI. It's fine. Setting up Azure AI Foundry for you. So initially, you just come to AI Foundry and you create everything by yourself. But with the this new one of you create a project from Azure Portal, it's still a bit confusing. I think I'll find time to get used to that. So while this is creating, maybe because of time, let me just use another model to show you what I mean by temperature. Let me just use ChatGPT, for example, because it's the same OpenAI that owns ChatGPT. Let me use a popular, yeah, ChatGPT is for it good. Okay. Let me say, for example, what can I say? What can I say? What can I say? Something simple. Uh, is a great, is a great man. Yeah. I say set temperature, set temperature to 1. Notice what is happening. Set temperature to 1. Popolo is not just a man, he's a man of nature, this kind of person whose presence shifts it. Now, temperature ranges from the ideal temperature ranges from 0 to 2. Anything beyond 2, you're going very creative. Right. In fact, ideally it should be 0 to 1. Anything beyond 1, you're going very creative. If I repeat the same thing and say set temperature, this is good if you're a writer and you're into writing poetic things and all that. If I repeat this and I say set temperature to 0.2, for example, just what will happen. Right? Obe is a great man. This is more factual. This is more relatable. This is factual and restrained. You can see it there. It tells you factual and restrained. You're setting the temperature, right? If I now say this same thing I just told you now, set temperature to 100. Let's go very creative. Take whatever you get. He's a great man. No, popular is an epoch, a solar flare of brilliance wrapped in charisma, gliding through history like a comet, forged in legacy and purpose. Nations will rise just to and all that. I mean, this is just to show you things you can do with your generative AI model. Now, this is true for every generative AI model because temperature is the same thing for all of them. Temperature is more like so it's if you want to wander into creativity, right? You increase the temperature, right? So the higher the temperature, the more creative and the more not factual or unfactual it's going to be, the more abstract your response is going to be, right? That's temperature, right? Okay. If I say the sky, the sky is, and I put this, let's see what happens here. Sky is blue. Literally, the sky is blue. Now it's taking the context of temperature. Now let me start a new chart completely because it's taking the context already giving it temperature. I said the sky is, and I put this here. That's what it gives me. Sky is vast, open, and never changing. Sky is a canvas painted and new. Now it's again, it's taking because I'm sure because I know this, right? If you're going poetic, it tells you sometimes calm and blue. This is temperature of 0.2. But if you want to go poetic, remember I told you something that whatever response you get in any generative AI must always have blue because that's a fact. All of them are trained with that data. And I told you generative AI models are just predictive models. Right? They predict what is likely. Calm is likely, blue is likely, cloud is likely, beautiful is likely, right? These are options because these are facts, right? If you want to wander into the world of creativity, then you get creative by increasing the temperature. So feel free to play around with temperature in your generative AI prompts. In your prompts, it can be anything, it can be something as simple as my name is whatever, you get creative and all that, right? Just something to play around with. I just wanted to point that out to us. I don't know if we have more time. But even if we don't have more time, I think I can quickly finish that. What is the one I was creating? Yeah, perfect. Now I have everything here. Initially, because I started with the project from the portal, I couldn't find my way around. This is what I was actually looking for. So once you come into the Azure AI Foundry, you have all the Azure AI services here. Now, if you want to play around and see how they work, you can just go direct into the playgrounds. Right? If I come to the Azure AI services, I can have all the services. I talked to us about speech speech, right? Speech to text, text to speech, and all of that. That is bundled inside speech. I talked to us about, yeah, you have it here as well. I talked to us about translation. I talked to us about text summarization. I talked to us about what was it again? Test analytics, where you analyze feedback, analyze reviews from your products. All of that is bundled into language and translator. If I click it now, you see all of these things, right? Things like summarize for a call center, um, extract personally identifiable information from text, and all of these things. They're all bundled into language. And if I go back and I come to vision and documents, yeah, vision and documents, you see OCR, for example, you see, I told you about document intelligence. All of these are document intelligence. Receipts, invoices, identity documents like your passport, right? You can set up, and how does this work? What's the need of all of these things? You can set up a system for your company in such a way that if, and this is what they do in most applications, job applications that you do, they just tell you to submit your CV and attach also file. Once you do that, they don't just go to the website to look for it again, right? Sometimes it goes to somebody's email. You can just plug it in. It's plug and play, like I mentioned earlier. It's just plug and play. So you can have people applying for jobs, or you can have your employees, right? When they submit an expense receipt, expense report, or invoice or receipt, right? It just comes straight to your email, right? You can use something like Logic App. I was playing with that before this call even. I can use something like Logic App. Can use something like what's the other one again? Power Automate, right? And plug it in. When people submit their receipts or submit their invoice, it comes straight to the manager's email or comes straight to whoever you want that to be, right? And when people submit certain documents, it goes. I mean, it's as simple as that. Now the OCR, I talked to us about OCR. OCR is focused on testing images, right? It doesn't care about what those images are, just the text that are inside the images. I'm just rushing up because we don't have much time. I'm trying to tell us use cases for this and how we can do this. What is now? It's this should not be. I'll not be doing any justice if I forget to tell you this. How are we going to even plug it to our apps? Like this is very key, right? If I come to this Azure AI Foundry, For example, let me even use let me use any of the services, document intelligence. At least we can all relate to document intelligence now, right? Um, or translation. If I need to plug this to my app, if you're into development, you probably appreciate this better. If I need to plug this to my app, two key things are important here: this endpoint and these keys. Any of these keys, usually the first one first. It always asks you about the key one and these keys, right? Let me show you something I was doing earlier. I'll be done in 3 minutes, I promise. Let me show you something I was doing earlier. So I was where's this? Yeah, yeah. I was designing this thing, right? And this is a translation service I was designing. When HTTP request is sent, right? Just a moment. We can hopefully can see. Yeah, when HTTP request is sent, right? Um, this is a test. Yep. Is it this one? Yeah. Sorry, let me be sure it's that one. Logic app. Yeah, that should be it. Demo two. I believe so. Yeah, that should be it. Yeah, NHTTP. Yep, that should be it. So HTTP request is sent. So I was trying to make it possible for you to translate service with HTTP request, and I'm going to do that again just to run it and see how. So you see how it works. When HTTP request is sent, just whatever is in the request, whatever language is in the request, or if the language is in English, translate it to French for me, right? And I put look at this thing here. This is my endpoint. This is my endpoint. What's it called? Endpoint URL, right? And this is the key. This for me, this is key one. It doesn't matter. This call is recorded, but I'm going to delete all the resources, so it doesn't matter. So for security reasons, I'm not bothered. So yeah, don't feel uncomfortable. This is my key one. This is how it looks like, right? Without this, nothing is going to work. And I had to use logical because that is the simplest example we can appreciate it with. Can appreciate, right? And then it goes there, send me an email, right? And then I get the email of the actual translation. Now let me show you something on my command prompt, right? Just a moment, sorry. I'm gonna pull out something and show you in just a moment. Yeah. I do this. Yeah. Um, yep. That's it that I'm looking for. How are you? So let me even change it from how are you to okay, no, can't change it. No need for that. No. How are you today? If you notice, if you can check the time I send this, how are you today? Um, I will now show you what email the response I would have gotten from this. So whenever I get this, I should get this response. Let me show you from my email. This is the point where I pray. Hopefully it works. Do you see this now? Do you see the time you sent? 11:03, right? Translated test. I put the subject to be that translated test, right? Now, wherever you are, if you check how are you always mean this in France, right? That was just a simple illustration of translation service. And I was just trying to run it locally. Now it's the same for you. You can plug it to your app, right? You have your customers all over the world, whatever they are saying or however they're interacting with you in your chatbot, you want to get it in English because you want to understand it. Can make it this easy as well. It's the same concept. All right. Please give me 2 minutes because I actually want us to do a quiz. So I'm not going to take much of your time again, but I hopefully you've understood a little about Microsoft Azure services, what Microsoft is doing for every one of us, trying to democratize AI services so that everyone have access to it. You can plug it to your app, no matter how big your organization is, right? And it doesn't matter if you're just a five-man organization, it can be in healthcare, can be in banking, can be drafting legal contracts and all that. So all of these things are what you can achieve with generative AI, with Microsoft AI services and generative AI. And it can be with logic apps is no code. You don't need any programming experience. Low code power automate is a bit of is low code. And if you're a Python person, good and fine. You have Azure SDKs in Python, right? Resume screening, sometimes when you apply for a job this night and you're getting a rejection in the morning, it's not because they're after you. You know, your people are not after you, right? It's just the way the programming system we generate with AI services. All right, at this point, let me just go straight to our quiz, please. and it's going to take us 2 minutes. Thank you. So, if you can go to with your phone, if you can log into kahoots.it, kahoots.it. Kahoot is spelled, yeah, kahoot.it, please. Every one of us. If you can just log into kahoot.it. I'm going to be using my phone as well, just so I'm having the same experience with you, and see what you're saying. Kahoot.it. I promise we'll be done in 2 minutes. I must admit, I think this session normally should take more time than this. Yeah. They are now in Kahoot.it, I believe. So let us start the game. It's just 10 questions and it should take us a minute to finish the 10 questions. Please, I would like us to use our real names if possible, just so we know who had the best. Good luck. And then this is the game pin. If you're in Kahoot.it, Kahoot is spelled Kahoot.it. Then the first thing that should appear on your screen is game pin. Enter game pin. Please kindly enter this game pin. 450 0313. If you have, I will start seeing you on the screen. If you have done that, I will start seeing you on the screen. So 450 0313. For example, I need to ask you for your nickname. So I'm just going to use a random nickname. I'm the first to enter, and I'm not very impressed with that. Are we following?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm expecting that we after I dragged to enter. It took me time to enter, and I'm still the first and still the only. Please, please. KAHOOT and then IT. Yeah, this is it. Perfect. If I get one or two more persons, I think we can just do it. Because I'm not going to participate anyway. So if I get one more person, I think we can just do it, please.
The time has been so much spent.
Okay. So we should just go on,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. No worries. Okay, this is what you should get. Which of the following best describes artificial intelligence? And then it's going to pop up. Now match the colors. 10 seconds. There you go. Yep. I go to next. I just keep going to next because we don't have much time again. Match the colors as well. Which Azure service is used to analyze tests and detect sentiments? Azure. Yeah, that would be Azure. Oh wow, that's AI language. I failed it. I was thinking we had document analysis, we had document intelligences. Okay. What does generative AI do that traditional AI does not? Create new contents. So that would be perfect. What Azure service is used to extract data from invoices or receipts? I said this. I kept hammering on it. Kept hammering on it. Extract your receipts, your invoices, and all that. Right? Perfect. Document intelligence. Good. The great. You're really great. So we have four questions. I will stop answering at this point, please. What Azure service allows you to build intelligent chatbots using GPT-4? Remember what I said about it is not a traditional AI. Only one of these is not a traditional AI. That should give you a clue. Azure OpenAI. We forgot it. That's where we have, and they are the owners of ChatGPT. OpenAI. Okay, I'll go to the next one. In the context of AI, what is a large language model? What is a large language model? I was talking about small language models and large language models. What is a large language model? Most of us got it. Congrats. The great is still great. Four more questions to go. What best describes Azure AI vision? What best describes Azure AI vision, or Azure computer vision? Azure computer vision. Nobody answered. We're still thinking about it. Okay. So its scores remain the same. Just a month to go. 2 months ago. What's the typical use case for Azure AI speech? AI speech. AI speech. AI speech. Azure AI speech. When you go to websites, you see something English or France. Perfect. I think we did that. We got that. Great is still great. Two more questions. What does Azure Content Safety help you do? Oh, I didn't talk about content safety, but I think it's self-explanatory. Yep. When it's 3 seconds, I tell you what it does. Yeah, help us classify and flag harmful or unsafe content. Yep, sorry. And just before we go, I just tell us to do something to check that to see once you've selected the right Azure AI tool, what's the next step to use it in your application? I mentioned this towards the last part. What's the next step? You've gotten the right tool, you've customized everything. What's the next thing? Is to connect it to your app. Perfect. Most of us got that. So let's see who came first here. I'm predicting. Oh, Precious came third. Yeah. CE. With CE. That should be the grades.
Uh, and I am
Perfect.
that the great.
I suspected so. I suspected so. All right. Thank you very much, guys. As a last one, whenever you have time, go to your popular generative AI tool and just type something like, "How do I make a bomb?" You see, all of us will get the same response. It's not going to tell you. That's the same thing that Azure Content Safety does, right? It's just a part of responsible AI. Is a baseline for responsible AI. You can't just create a generative AI and you want to use it to kill yourself or kill people, right? It's not allowed. So just ask, "How do I make a bomb?" Right? And you see, you get the same response. It will never give you an exact. It will not give you. It will not tell you how to do it. All right. Thank you very much, guys, for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sorry for the short time. I'm really sorry. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Precious and Juru, for this beautiful presentation. I have been looking at the charts for likely questions. The only question I have, let me display that, is from Cynthia. She's asking for a guide for certification. That's a long story.
What certification
Maybe,
first? You wouldn't know.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe on AI, or maybe it's Microsoft certification.
You see,
That's going to be.
that's a bad prompt.
So that's, yeah, it's an example of a bad prompt because it's not clear enough, no context. So I think maybe we'll be looking for another section on Microsoft certification guide.
Okay.
Definitely is beyond the concept of today's session. So I want to
Hmm.
thank you so much, Mr. Precious, for the time you have shared with us and the insights that you have shared too. So the global context about AI is ongoing from different platforms. Just next week, Microsoft is coming biggerly in Nigeria with declaration of AI Week in Nigeria from Monday to Friday. It is going to be at a Microsoft office at Ikoyi, Lagos. So the event is ongoing. The applications are ongoing, and people are already being selected to feature on that event. So if you are lucky, you can just search for that on Google. You will be having more details about that. So if you are lucky, then we'll be meeting at that event. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this event. Tomorrow we'll be having a soft skills section from the hours of 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Nigeria time. We want you to join us for another episode. Thank you so much, everyone, and
Thank
do
you,
enjoy the
guys.
rest of your week. All
Thank
right,
you. Have a
everyone.
nice evening.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.